Hey,
All
hey.
right, how you doing, Matt?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. So this is like the first time thing we're doing is what you call it? A collab stream. There we go.
Yeah,
We're both
exactly.
live on both of our channels and on your X as well. I think, isn't it?
I think so. I tried to set it up best I could. Not that I'm a Luddite or anything, but
Yeah.
you know,
You
it
know what's
happened.
funny? In some ways, yeah, you're live. But in some ways, you are a complete another Luddite, and in other ways, you're like this tech genius guy. I'm like, what the hell?
Hey, look, I found that like social media and stuff I'm not good at, but um I get those hyper focuses on those weird niche things like Obsidian or whatever, and all of a sudden I'm just
Yes,
all in.
that's
But
what I mean. Like, it doesn't make sense. It
yeah,
makes
and
no
then
damn sense.
like I don't know, I get distracted easily on my computer, so I have to remove all the, you know, I only play video games occasionally with you guys, and usually it's like Slay the Spire or something.
I don't play that because I'm a good boy. I play strategy games, proper strategy games.
Mm.
We gotta just use our tanks to destroy everything, type
Like
thing,
like
or
Roblox or
Total
something.
War.
I'm just
That's
kidding.
what. Wait, what? What did
I
you say?
said,
What
oh,
did you say?
like Roblox or something.
Oh yeah, super
That's more.
tactical.
Yeah, yeah.
Got my
Um,
Fortnite.
I don't know. I've been trying to get into more video games occasionally because some of the guys on the server play them, and I used to play more
Hmm.
uh, when I was younger. But
Back in my day, 6 months ago.
6 months ago, yeah. No, I mean, it's hard though. Like it's like for folks that play a lot of like tabletop RPGs, you start to realize like how little video games give you compared to making a world and playing in it or whatever else you want to do. So
Yeah, you see, I like different. I want different things for different fields. Like,
yeah.
like sometimes I want to play a fancy role playing game. Other times I want to be a tank commander. You know what I mean? And yeah,
Well, I get that, and I feel similarly when it comes to tabletop games too,
mhm.
which is why I like to play so many of them because I get different things for different genres and feels.
Yeah,
And there's a big difference between playing um, chainmail as a war game and battling each other and playing something like Warhammer Fantasy.
oh yeah, completely different. It's not
Yeah,
remotely the same, even though they're both technically war games. But you know,
yeah, exactly.
it's not the same. It's funny because you're still rolling like d6s for like if you're using chainmail or fantasy battle. It doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah,
d6s, but it's how your saves are implemented and how everything else is implemented as well. And you have like your your heroes are different, and the stuff they can do is different. So
yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah.
that's why we set up the world the way we did, so that we could have an
Mhm.
excuse to play so many different games.
Yeah. Oh,
But
speaking of different games, um, obviously the stream that we're both doing is going to be about different games and how you can implement different systems and stuff like that. But we do have a couple games that we will be playing or upcoming on your server. Ooh,
that is true. Yeah, we're playing a few different things.
yeah.
So obviously we're playing more Barrows and Borderlands. And I've got two new adventure modules that I'm currently writing, and we're doing some play testing on the server. Those are both quite fun. But then, as far as other game systems, I know that we're going to be starting some drop ship here soon.
Hmm.
Um, and Chance just started his night shift playthrough, which is the Jason Vey, like it's old school D&D feeling, but got that like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And
Yeah, we went over character creation and character stuff there the other night. Um,
yeah,
it was pretty good. I'm very excited to play that. As far as like other games as well, like Dropship, on my channel we will be start playing live games as well. And I
Yes.
think the very first person we will have on is Todd of Blackwall Games, and he will be running Dropship. I think this is not for sure, but I think the first game is going to be run on the 8th of July, and we're still figuring out the time. But once I find out, I'm going to post it everywhere, and then you guys can come join us.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm hoping to get maybe between 4 and 6 players.
Well, I'm also starting. Maybe this would be one that would be fun to play on your stream too. But doing some of the Thurn expeditions with radioactive Tougaloo.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. That could also be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know I have a few people that we're going to get on the stream as well. Yourself, they play live games and other stuff like that. But dude, Muzz, as long as it has Skaven / Raffolk, it's a good war game.
Good point.
And there you have Atmos, the absolute Chad, who always comes in with super chats. I'm like, you are a psychopath. Thank you, my friend.
Hot dog coffee.
Hot dog coffee and a big thumbs up, dude. Thank you. But yeah, we I gotta talk about like some game integration. Like, how exactly do you think people should approach game integration? Because I think you know as well. When people look at your game system, they'll look up, say, modules or adventures or whatever, and it has to say made for, and like say made for BX or whatever, and they'll only use or play with stuff that is BX related. They won't even try and use an ADD adventure half the time, or something.
Yeah,
but that's super easy to put. It's
a lot of the OSR style games or old school Renaissance style games are compatible already. Like the numbers will be pretty much the same. You'll look at a stat block and it'll be right there. But even rule systems that are quite different, like if I was to run, like, I don't know, let's say I grabbed a mothership module and I wanted to run Barrows and Borderlands with it. I guess what you're asking is, how do I go about making that compatible in my head as I'm running it? Well, there's kind of two easy ideas about it, or methods about it. One is you just ignore every number in the book and you pick the most comparable thing from the game that you're using. So, for example, if I have a module and it says, you enter this room, it's got computers over there, blah, 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 blah. And then there's 8 cyber goblins in the room. All right. And then it gives me some stats for that rule system. I could just go grab goblins from whatever rule system I'm using and just use those stats and just flavor it as whatever I'm running. Mm-hmm. But another thing too is, like, if you're pulling aspects from other games, like items or classes or other things like that, a lot of people just need to remember that the entirety of all mechanics for these role-playing games are, there's a percentage chance of this thing, so if I have an ability that says I have a 3 in 6 chance to do X, well, that's a 50% chance. So if I was running something like, I don't know, basic role playing, or if we're doing Call of Cthulhu, well, okay, I can use my D100 and just say 50% for 50%. And that's usually where you see the most differences between games. And I've also seen some game designers, they will say something like, oh, well, I can just switch this dice for this dice, or this thing for this thing. But then they kind of forget about, like, bell curves that can be caused by the dice, or ways that it messes with the statistics. But pretty much, as long as you know what the percentage chance of something is, or if it's like a bell curve, for example, like 3d6, the chances of rolling a 12 versus rolling a 18, you can mess around with a lot of that stuff. And that's a lot of what we do at our home table too, because you guys will transfer characters over to another world. And usually I will either try, and if I wanted to tweak any numbers, it would be to tweak the percentage chances to be similar to our main game, which is Barrows and Borderlands, or whatever else our main game would be. Then another way you could think about it too is if the entire party is going to this other world or this other setting, well, maybe the percentages are changing, kind of like John Carter being able to leap 15 feet in the air versus, on Mars versus being able to just jump a couple feet on Earth. So
Yeah. No, yeah, that's exactly it. Again, like we said earlier, like there's some games which are just so much more compatible, and there's you don't have to do anything, or
yeah,
you're like your saves are going to be slightly different. That's easy to figure out. Like if you're going for a game that uses like paralyzed saves or whatever, okay, you're just going to use your Constitution or something like that, depending what the save
yeah,
is or proxy for. That's the most simplest and straightforward way to go. Most D20 games are going to be compatible with most D20 games because the base system is rolling D20. You need to hit a target number. Again, the background stuff might be different. Like, oh, my AC score is different, so that means I can't use this. It's like, no, just swap the numbers around. There you go. It's pretty straightforward. Like these things are barriers for a lot of people, and they don't think about it. And I used to be a lot like that. Then I started to get a bit better, and then when I started like playing with you and hanging out and became really good friends, I started to get it more and more. So I think that's something that I think people need to get around. But like you said, even if you want to use other systems which are, say, not as compatible, you can figure it out by figuring out what the percentage chance of something is, and you can get as close as possible to the target number.
yeah.
Obviously, with some things, you're not going to be like if you're using say a D10 game or something like that, a D100 game, and then you start trying to use D4s, it's that's where situation's not going to work as much.
Well, we had a good example last night. So I was prepping some people to do a Thurn expedition. So folks are making characters. Now Thurn has sort of a turn of the century level technology in it, and we were using Barrows and Borderlands, but trying to run Star Trek with Hyperborea. Well, see, that's sort of the point. Is we like to have other systems that we can go to for other genres.
Yeah.
But I think more what we're talking about is, let's say you had a person that wanted to run a module that wasn't necessarily made for the system. Like, I don't know, let's say you really liked a module that was made for Into the Odd or something, and you wanted to run it with BX. It's fairly easy to move that over and run that. Or if you had, like what happened last night, where Ultra American TTRPGer, he wanted to run a class from World War II White Box Operation White Box.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I know what that is. Yeah.
So he wanted to run one of the classes in there in the Barrows and Borderlands game, and it was super easy. We just said, fine, use the Barrows and Borderlands Fighting Man as the standard, and then just swap the class ability with that class ability, and boom, done. Because that means
hi all
Bo Paints minis. But yeah, I mean, we took the standardization of the Barrows and Borderlands percentage chances for saving throws, your THACO, those sort of things, and we just said, okay, those will be our baseline, because otherwise I would just be sort of pushing those numbers closer to that anyway.
Yeah.
And then none of the class abilities really messed with anything. So we said, okay, take those class abilities, and there you go. Now you're the grunt class in Barrows and Borderlands.
Yeah. What I'm also saying here, it does make sense. But what we do is we also play other games. So we will transfer, like we said, we'll transfer characters over if you want to have. Say if I'm playing with my character, and I'm like, okay, I want to play this other game, but I still want to be able to use my character. You can sort of port her over as close as possible, like statistic wise and stuff like that. Which, funny enough, we actually Chance did this with Night Shift from our Call of Cthulhu characters. It's very easy to do anyway. But basically my character level is like level 6, and I'm a scientist. I was a computer student, so that's kind of how we figure with that. But we do go on and play other games, and we'll figure out, okay, maybe if you play this game, your character in the main game will get like 500, 600, or whatever it is XP from completing and then coming back. This is a great way to get other people to try other systems, which we want to do anyway. We want to play other stuff and have fun. Even though it's only a once-off game, you want to play once a month or once in 6 months or once a year. It doesn't matter. You want to play something else. Just get a feel And like
Yeah.
we said earlier about video games, sometimes you want like a first-person shooter, and sometimes you want a tactical turn-based strategy game. So there's something there for everybody, I think. And the way you've come up with it, I think is brilliant, and it works. And maybe if they're that person who just wants to play Call of Cthulhu, for example, and then you're like, "Oh, I'll try the fancy game out." Maybe you can do that same way. So
Well, what's interesting is like, so we had this conversation come up on the server too about it's almost the same debate, the age old free Kriegspiel versus rules Kriegspiel idea of, oh, do the rules even matter, or should it all be sort of this free Kriegspiel, go with the flow and pick whatever makes sense in the moment? Like, you don't need a system with rules. I, like always, am a filthy fence sitter. So I just look at that and I go, well, some games I like to be very free Kriegspiel and not really worry too much about it. But then other games, there are, I call it board game fun, where there is a bit of fun with the resolution of a mechanic in a game, which is the same reason why when we have board game night and they say, oh, well, you guys want to play Monopoly, but all I have are the rules for the game of life. That's all the same thing. It's like, well, they're different for a reason. Like, they have different resolutions, just different points to the game. This came up again whenever I was working on the Barrow Mail write-up, where I was integrating a lot of chainmail with some pre-D&D ideas, along with some ideas from B&B. And this write-up will come out in the next Boogaloo supplement. But one of the things that came up was experience points and how to actually level up in that game. So we sat there and we messed around with I think it was some of Arneson's concepts of special interest for characters. So we have this whole idea of like, oh, well, this game is supposed to be like Vikings, and so if you wanted to level up, you need to be throwing like a huge party in a mead hall and boasting in epic poems about your adventures. So we worked that in as how you level up. That's a good example of the rules are supporting the setting, and it can also add some like gamified fun to it.
Yeah, it makes it a little different. It makes it stand out more from just a normal, like any other sort of D20 sort of game. But yeah, like for people who don't know, he is a psychopath when it comes to creating. He works on like 20 things at once, and then out of nowhere, he'll come out with something, be like, "Hey guys, want to try this?" And we're like, "When have you been working on this?" It's like, "Oh, for the past like 2 months." And we're like, "I thought you were working on this other thing the past 2 months." It's like, "Yeah."
I've been doing both.
But as far as Barrow Mail, for example, Barrow Mail is really good. It's your version of taking sort of chainmail and adding in your own sort of personality, is what you want and what you like, setting and feel. That's the thing. A lot of games about vibe, and you got the vibe that you want, and you add some extra details and extra stuff in there, and it works really, really well. And I've played it a few times, like myself and Brian and Chance. We played it by ourselves together once or twice. Went really well. We had lots of fun, and it was chaotic.
It was quite fun.
But that's good.
Well, I was just saying that's part of it. Like, if you're designing a game, that's why I think both free Kriegspiel and rules Kriegspiel have their place. Because when I start with an idea, I go, okay, at the bare minimum, there will be some sort of role that will determine whether or not I succeed at some sort of action. And that's the entire game. Just start from that point. And then I go, here's the setting or the genre that I'm trying to give out. So in the case of Barrow Mail, I was like, I wanted Anglo-Saxony, maybe 700 AD era gameplay in this sort of like, wanted a little bit low magic. I wanted some, folk monster type things going on. So then I said, okay, well, what would support that? And as far as the combat, I was like, well, chainmail does quite a good job at combat resolution when it comes to ancients and medieval wargaming. And so I started with that, and I went, okay, well, only adding in parts that were fun to resolve. Like, it's fun to roll a handful of 6-sided dice. It's fun to roll percentiles in Call of Cthulhu, and it's fun to roll a d20 in D&D whenever you're rolling for an attack. So everything I add to a game must either support this idea or genre, add some sort of gamified, board gamey fun element to it, and also makes sense to people reading it. Like, it's not too verbose for no reason.
Yeah.
But anyway.
We have Ballpate's Minis. He said, that's what I love about B&B. It's so adaptable. I have a stack of BECMI and BX compatible books, modules, supplements that I can port right in. That is completely true. Any OSR type game as well will work out of the box straight away. Don't need to change anything in 99% of them. And when you do, it's like, oh no, my saves are different. Oh, how will I cope? Oh no, I use my wisdom save instead of my like petrification save or whatever. You know?
That was also the hope with that, because Barrows and Borderlands is our base core system that we expand off of. So, I mean, old school D&D was the most compatible game. That's why there were so many supplements in the 70s and 80s.
That was a good time with supplements. Next, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about this. I am working on the next 3 glue, if you will. Obviously, we've got some more classes, races, some crazy stuff, some new monsters. But I'm also focusing on messing around with what we're talking about today, which is game compatibility and what's the word? Integration. So Barrow Mail, for example, will be in the 3 glue supplement. It'll be like a 13-page miniature game wrapped up inside there.
Now, I have to say, you say miniature game. It is a full-fledged game.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. Like, again, we've played it a few times. I played it with Brian and Chance privately, I think twice. I think John was there as well. A few people on the server. And yeah, because obviously a couple of us who are like close at you and stuff like that, we help play and test things out from time to time and get feedback. And like, hey, what do you think about this? But like, it can be the most minor thing, like move this here, or maybe explain this a little more, or you don't need that in here because it's explained somewhere else or whatever. Like small things. He does everything. So, here's a full game, guys. What the hell?
Would it surprise you to know that there is another game that I'm putting in there too? So I also was playing around with some of those concepts that I was using for Barrow Mail, and I went, oh man, I could make a really like rules light horror game out of this too. And so I started
saying something this to me. Yeah, but we didn't go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's another kind of 2 games inside of 3 glue, and of course there's also a dungeon module in there for the next level of Selmathea. And I also have a lot of talk about the way we do multiversal gameplay and stuff like the Bifrost Bridge, where your characters can open up portals, or maybe they stumble on one and there's this neat little mini game you can play. But yeah, I have my notes from 3 glue that we've been using for quite a while in game, and
testing and figuring out and changing things from time to time. Yeah, I think this is probably one of the greatest things as a creator you can have is, since you have your server, it's bloody huge, over 300 people, and we have games. So sometimes you'll have like 4 games in a week. Other times you might have 1 or 2, just because people's life schedules and stuff like that. Especially when it gets to summertime, things are a little more chaotic. People are on holidays, or they might be working more to save up for other stuff, or whatever. But yeah, like you have a bunch of people you can test things with, and sometimes you don't even know they're testing something for you. Which is really handy. But we have Atmos again with another super chat because he's a psychopath, and thank you yet again for being a psychopath. Cannibalize everything from 1974 onwards with Whitehack, rules light system agnostic. Has a page on toolkitting your attributes in case you don't need a typical OSR attribute stat line, aka Into the Odd. That is true.
Yep.
He's also really good for that stuff, and so is Jazer. Jazer is he does a similar kind of stuff as well with the stuff he works on,
And
shifting out
RTM
some
and
other
stuff.
stuff, which also is on the B&B server, which you can play.
Yeah, you can come play that. And that is a very rules light game. So
Yeah.
But I
Projects
also
at
know
once.
10 projects at once.
Dude, you two could be best friends.
There we go. Maybe we should work on something together. But that's another argument that came up with. I think McCrease brought it up on X recently. He was talking about the free Kriegspiel and rules Kriegspiel debate, and he made a really good point that I had not thought of before, which is that rules light games are better for referees that are. Oh, sorry, I popped up there for a second. But he was saying that rules light games are better for referees that are extremely knowledgeable on the subject they're running. So, for example, he brought up this. He said, imagine you're like a Prussian officer, right? And you're running a war game for, I don't know, the prince or whatever. And so you're going through. It's very free Kriegspiel. The rules are all in your head of like, oh, well, I know I'm going to make him roll a certain amount of D6s. I know that if he's going to try and march an army and ford the river, I know how much time that's going to take him to do because I'm actually a military officer. Like I know what that does whenever we're on a battlefield. And so he doesn't need a lot of rules. He just needs to know the chances of something based on his own experience as an officer. But then you get somebody that doesn't know these things trying to run the same game for the prince, and the prince goes, oh, I'm going to ford the river with my army. And this person who doesn't know anything about the effects of water on the horses or anything like that, he just goes, cool, done. You're over there. And then you have a very different game between two referees.
Yeah.
But if you take a game like Axe 2, for example, you're going to have very similar experiences between each referee at the table as far as the adjudication of the world. So their chances of something happening will be based on the research that McCrease did for Axe. So not saying that either way is right or wrong, just that there is a kind of a place for both. Whereas Atmos and Jazer are extremely knowledgeable when they run the game. Like Jazer brought up running like science fantasy stuff. Well, I know that Jazer has read quite a lot of books. So when Jazer is running, right, when Jazer is running science fantasy, he might not need this guide of how to do certain things because he's like, well, I know from this book how a phaser gun works, But then let's say you get like a 14-year-old at a local game store who's never read Conan, who's never read Space Vikings or whatever else it is that the genre is based on, and he's trying to run it off of just, let's say, single page rules or whatever, where it just says, if they hit, they roll this or whatever it is. He's going to have a little bit of a harder time getting into it versus if he picks up, think of a good, well, sort of Cepheus or some other like Sword and Planet game. It's going to kind of have that stuff baked in.
Yeah. I remember when I first joined the server and like we started talking and all that stuff. We started hanging out more and more. We talked about like stuff you could watch and read to help you get to feel an idea of the game, which I think is brilliant. Especially if you're someone who has no knowledge on basically anything fantasy, which is, to be honest, quite a lot of people, because your game isn't just fantasy. There's a lot of weird sci-fi. You have your, what did I describe it as when I first got it? It was like this weird science fantasy, dragons, black powder, and blasters or ray guns.
Yeah, weird science fantasy, old school style role playing game set in a dark radioactive wasteland of magic, black powder, and dragons.
Yeah, so it's funny. Like you'll have a character who's in like full plate mail, he has like a mace and a shield, right beside like a witch hunter type character with a black flintlock pistol and like a saber, right beside an alien with like psychic abilities, who's then right beside your traditional like ranger type or basic fighter type character.
Yeah, and
Well,
see
they all
now,
have a blaster pistol.
so even that right there, if you're somebody, and this is why I think this is why I'm always a fence sitter with this stuff, because I do think it's extremely important to, for us that are really into the games, like reading the appendix in or expanding it, like for Barrows and Borderlands, there's tons of other reading and watching materials that would help with the vibe of the setting.
Yeah.
But if you're not somebody that knows that stuff and you see what you just described, where you've got a black powder wielding musketeer next to a dude with a laser sword next to a knight, you're going to be like, why is all this mixed together? But if you've read something like, I don't know, Dying Earth or something like that, or some Clark Ashton Smith, you're going to be like, oh, that's neat. Like, I get it. There's some of that in there. And that kind of goes towards running the games too. Like, I wouldn't expect somebody that's never read any Conan or watched any of the, like, let's say you've got somebody that only knows that his name's Conan and he's a barbarian. And then that person says, I'm going to run a Conan RPG, right?
Yeah.
Using, I don't know, let's say Into the Odd or White Hack. Well, he's got almost nothing to go off of. So when you say, hey, my character, I'm going to be a Chimerian, and he's like, what's that? Because there's he's got nothing to go off of. Or like if you're going to run in Hyperborea, that's why I love the Gazetteer in the Hyperborea RPG, because it gives you not just information on the world, but he's snuck a lot of really good science fantasy stuff in there and pulp fantasy, so that as you're just reading the Gazetteer that's mixed into the game, you're already good on the vibe without having to read the whole library.
Yeah. I think, like, me personally, I think some things that would be good to either watch or read for like B&B would be Kroll, Conan. That goes for the movies and the stories as well.
Stories,
Princess of Mars for sure, absolutely. Oh, yeah. You're definitely gonna get the real feel because you have a mix of like you have the colonial soldier or a Civil War soldier, then you're gonna have him in another planet jumping around with superpowers, with aliens. You're getting the real weirdness, and obviously you have to watch like and read stuff like Lord of the Rings, just because it's like the real quote unquote generic fantasy. It was not once generic; it was once like groundbreaking, but a lot of stuff was based off that, and
well, it teaches. That's a good one you brought up, Lord of the Rings, and also stuff like Beowulf.
Yes,
because here's something. Even if you're not running a mythological kind of campaign, I think that's something that a lot of people have lost nowadays is myth. Like, we don't have a lot of myth in today's reading material or anything. Like, there's something sort of I was listening to something today. It was talking about Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's inspirations from Anglo-Saxon poems and such. And one was talking about how part of the poem was fragmented, as in it had certain information left out, which added to the allure of it. Like, oh, I don't know this thing. There's the illusion that there's something beyond the mountains that I don't know. But I can feel that it's there because everything else is so detailed. And they brought up that in his Silmarillion and stuff, there were certain fragments in there that had the same effect of like, oh, I can feel that there's some sort of understory to the main story.
Yeah, like there's more to the world in the background than meets the eye, and you can feel it if you just look a little deeper. But as it goes along, as you dig deeper, it goes even deeper than you thought. There's like each story has a backstory. The backstory has a backstory, and it goes on. Like with Tolkien, for example, like you said, like with the elves were based off a lot of the Celtic mythology of like the other world. Like that's where the Theodanes all came from and stuff like that. It's heavily based off that. Got a few chats here just to read quick.
Yeah.
So I recently got into Alternative Dark. Alternative Dark Matter. Sorry. It's like a 90s TSR X-Files game. I have not heard of it. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of Alternative Dark Matter. Yeah.
There's a solo game.
We actually have a couple fans of that on the server.
Oh, really? I did not know this.
Schedule a game.
Yeah. Yeah, Amos, you can absolutely sketch it. That'd be cool. Night Shift, is that a 2 from 4chan? I don't know. But
No,
Jason Vey, pretty cool. He's a cool guy. So this is Night Shift.
it's very much think Buffy the Vampire Slayer, supernatural kind of setting. You can also play as supernatural creatures like vampires and werewolves. So you could have your sort of like masquerade fantasy, if you will. But then he has this other supplement too with the Night Companion. It goes into more like they've got like you can basically be an immortal from Highlander in here and stuff like that. And it's compatible with BX style or old school style RPG material. So I love it. Like we might be incorporating some of that into the home campaign too. I know Chance is running some Night Shift games on the server, but some of this stuff I was looking at, I was like, oh, you know what? I could let somebody play as that in like the B&B game.
You know what's funny? So we know Jason Vey, obviously. Oh, you know him. He talked about how much he loved like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer game. There's also another game, but produced by the same creator called All Flesh Must Be Eaten.
Yeah, he wrote this for that too.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Jason Vey did some writing for that too.
I did not know that. I played that like 14 years ago, dude, or 12 years ago, whatever it was, and it was amazing. We had so much fun. At first, it looks really sort of generic, but when you get into it, you can create a lot of stuff. There's a lot of supplements to add to so much of the game, and it's super cool. And I've been on this Walking Dead kick, and I'm like,
we will definitely
PDF somewhere, and I'm going to be reading up on that and playing it again.
So that uses the Unisystem, which is
same one that we're cool.
The same one that was, and if you've ever played CJ Corella's Witchcraft, also uses the Unisystem. It is another one of those supernatural RPGs, but because it's all Unisystem, you can mix and match things together. So you could have all kinds of fun with it. I actually really like Unisystem. I'd be super down to play some All Flesh Must Be Eaten.
Dude, I bet you reload everything and play again, and maybe we can do something.
It's so cool. I definitely, dude, running
it's pretty easy to play as well. So
yeah, no, it's a D10 based system. It's basically D10 plus attribute plus skill beating a number kind of thing, which is very simple. The magic in CJ Corella's Witchcraft is really fun to mess with. So I picked it up years ago, and I've never had a chance to play Witchcraft yet. But I will play All Flesh Must Be Eaten with you.
Nice. We have Technoblade as well, my boy.
Greetings.
An awesome game called Zombie Rain. I believe you can still get a late pledge on Kickstarter. So I'll have him eventually playing on the channel as well. We have Moz again. Domod has a great gazetteer for setting and mood too. That is something I do think is quite important. Getting an idea and feel and vibe of the world. Just you can have a small little game setting, and it gives you an idea of how things should be. But the bigger your book is, the bigger your world is, you need to get into more detail, I think. That's just me anyway. And then we have Atmos again, our boy. Whitehack is supposed to be used with the vast collection of rules, novels, and zines that all gamers have. Brings to life games and stories you've never played. That's
See, that was also my point there, is that a lot of us gamers have been playing for a while. We do have a large collection of rule books, novels, and zines. But I think the point that Macrease was making is that not everybody does. So when you're first starting out, like if I handed Whitehack to somebody that's never read fantasy, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for them trying to figure out what the game's meant to be like. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's the whole free Kriegspiel versus rules Kriegspiel debate.
I'll just read two more, and then we can read more later on. So Martin at Daddy Roller 1 noted that in the US 50 years ago, fantasy and sci-fi were not separate sections of the library, and Gygax and Arison D&D was as much sci-fi as fantasy. Yes. I think at their own personal tables they were, but as a consumer product, it was more fantasy based. But in terms of libraries, yes, it was all thrown together.
Maybe 50 years ago, yes, but then especially if you look at the 1930s with pulp.
Yeah.
So pulp
Same.
was it was the same. I mean, you would have
magazine.
aliens. Yeah. You would have aliens showing up and also sorcerers at the same time, because it was sort of this weird amalgamation of how they thought the world was outside of their knowledge, including science and fiction.
Mhm.
So science fiction.
And we have Atmos again saying we should play Black Dark Matter. Absolutely, dude. And
Yeah.
I'm down for it. We'll read some few more chats later on, but we get back to the conversation. We could be here forever. With chats. But yeah.
So that whole mythology thing really ticks something for me whenever I do my writing, because the illusion of more is sometimes more valuable than me lore dumping on you. I could sit there and be like, hey guys, I wrote this world. Let me now say this 200-page knowledge, or give you this 200 pages of knowledge on the setting and all these other things. And now you're going to be reading about the trade routes between these two nations or something. And while I may have that stuff written in the background in my own notes, saying something like, you guys are in the forest, and there's a tower there. Okay. What if I instead said, you guys are in the Lycanthrope Woods, and in the middle of the Lycanthrope Woods is the Tower of the Mage from Erendur. And you go, oh, well, A, why is this called the Lycanthrope Woods? B, okay, there's this mage here in this tower. Where is Erendur, and why is he not there? What's going on here? It's sort of like you're leaving little tidbits. If you ever played any of the Souls games, like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring,
it's like environment storytelling.
Yeah, environmental storytelling. You find an old dagger, and it's named like the dagger that killed a god, right? And it's just a normal dagger, but you're like, why is this called the dagger that killed a god?
Yeah.
There's just those little bits, and a lot of times too, the imagination of the reader, or in the case of a game, of the player, can be better than what you had in mind, even if you had something written. So why tell them everything? Just give them just enough about the world that they're interested in. That's where the idea of like a plot hook comes in. You find a carriage that's been destroyed in the middle of the woods. What do? Are you just going to leave it there? Are you going to try and figure out maybe what destroyed the carriage? Like what matters to you? And if you guys never delve too deep into it, then I'm not wasting as much time, Yeah,
you're giving little tidbits and clues on environmental storytelling, which players could choose to investigate or completely ignore, but then they can develop things over time. Maybe they might draw a connection to something they heard from the town previously, and it might be related to this, and they don't know it until they start investigating and looking around, and then they go on their own initiative and try and figure something out, or see if there's anything at all there. Maybe there might just be a few copper coins left, and a bunch of bears ate the food or whatever, and the people who were there died. Or maybe it was transporting some super secret goods that then got taken away by the evil cyber mech wizard. You don't know until you check it out.
That's the way I like doing my world building. Obviously, part of my hobby is writing copious amounts of lore that's just ridiculously long. I love writing, but I know people don't love reading as much. So, when it comes to my lore, because the person who's going to care about your lore the most is going to be you. Okay. So everyone else is secondary to that. But if you get on there and you go, what is it like? You know what? Here's a good way of putting it. Ken St. Andre talked about this at Arnicon last year, which I'll be at again this year in October. But Ken was talking about the way he approaches world building, and he goes, well, the way I look at it is there's some, medieval British guys over here. You've got the Arabs over here. You've got, your Mongol warriors over there. Everybody's, whatever it is you want to be, whatever stand in for that we have in this world is some sort of assumption that that's out there. And then, but all you guys care about is you're in an unfamiliar territory, you're in the wilderness, you're moving with a caravan, all of you wake up, everyone else is dead. There's blood everywhere, everyone's dead, the carriage is destroyed. You know that somewhere in this region there's some treasure, and you don't know how to get home. What do you do?
Yeah, and then it's
And
from
you
the
go from
players
there.
there to figure out what direction to go.
Yeah.
If they need like food or water or whatever, just figure that out. You know, if you want to get into more detail, you can. If you want, if you don't want to say, oh, we have some rations we found, whatever, you know, stuff like that. And like, what direction was this caravan going? Were they slaves, or were they like just heading off with the caravan to destination X, Y, and Z? What turned over the carriage? Was it a storm? Was it an attack from a bunch of monsters or creatures?
Who
Well,
knows?
let's figure it
Let's
out.
find out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then the world itself develops or unfolds towards the players, and they figure out, okay, this faction over here is fighting against this faction, and you learn a bit about the history and stuff like that. Like, you know, when you talk about lore there, and some people don't care, you
yeah,
know, but like the Dungeon of Phil lore that you are working on and that we play, it's an amazing dungeon. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. Like someone like me, I want to know the story behind it. I want to know what's
yeah.
going on. But then we have players who don't care. They just want to go and get some treasure, be the cool guy, and be like, I got a cool blaster that, you know,
Yeah.
basically nuclearifies your cells and cause your brain to explode. Yeah, like, you can have both in the same party in the same game.
And you're
But
always
yeah,
going to have both. You're
yeah,
always
yeah,
going to have different people that have different views on how the game
yeah.
should be played at your table. Um, that's why I don't lay it on too thick. Like I have the lore, I have the ideas of what happened before for Dungeon of the Fell Lord,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to sit there and give you guys a pre-talk about it
Yeah.
and go over a bunch. But you know, if you guys are going down a room, and I know one of the first rooms near the entryway is the mosaic room,
Mhm.
uh, and so you go in there, and there's this huge depiction of the Fell Lord making a deal with some sort of demon on one side of the wall, and he's handing him this amulet. And then on the other side, there's these giant towers over a giant portal, and the guy is locking that amulet away in one of the towers. And it's like, okay, for the guys that don't care, they're gonna go and try and find maybe there's a secret door in the room that they're
Mhm.
looking for because they're just trying to get to the next room. And then for players like you might go, oh, I'm gonna take note of that. So if we see any towers like that, or if we encounter some more artwork of that demon,
Yep.
maybe this has something to do with more of what happened here.
Like I remember we came across that instantaneously. My eyes went boom because we don't like a little one-on-one play before, or like ages before we played Dungeon Fell Lord, and there was direct connections to what was going on in that like abandoned cursed church that was like basically trying to sanctify and like figure out what the story is that relates directly to what's going on in Dungeon Fell Lord. And some of the stuff I done there might have caused some issues in the Fell Lord dungeon, Fell Lord, I should say. And that is not my fault. And if you die from some horrible demon, it is your own fault. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. You and John is in there. I'm not even going to get into what John did, but he
Oh
did
my
something.
god.
He did something.
Oh
But
no.
um, but see, that's one of the benefits I have of the world that we play in that there are things that have been built on for over a decade in game. So we've had this sort of back and forth since I was in high school of oh, this is cool, yeah, and then I reference it later with something else, or it's connected here from somewhere else. So
Mhm.
you've got this world that feels lived in because we have lived in it. We've
Yeah.
done things in the world for so long that it's almost like it writes itself, or the lore comes up with itself at this point.
Mhm.
Um, where okay, cool, you guys stumble on Jay, for example. He stumbled on an old Dynaco facility that was owned by the former CEO before Arthur William Black. It was his father, George Black, and there's these weird religious elements in there. They've got the same sort of Dynaco suits, but there's references in there to the Fell Lord and also
Mhm.
to um, the Eye of the Damned Queen up in the Dead Zone and stuff like that. But um, that goes into a lot of like what is a good amount of world building for your
Yeah.
table. So I'd say if you're a referee, the right amount of world building is however much you have fun doing, first of all, but also just enough to give them some ideas, you know, give some sort of
direction, like basic direction. Maybe you don't want to know like some local factions or maybe some local areas where of interest, and it might have some dungeons or towers or strange and unusual ongoings which your characters could have an opportunity to investigate. And then from there, built out naturally from play as well from your own sort of development and enjoyment from like creating lore. And those things will bounce off each other. Like your players might say something or do something really cool, which can then directly affect how you decide to go forward with some of your lore. But like, oh well, maybe it is like some weird possession thing that happened over here, not what I originally thought. It was just like a bunch of orcs being weird. You know, like that stuff like that happens.
Well, we had one of those come up early on in the writing of this world. I reference the flesh pits of Erden. When I first wrote that down, nothing else. That was all the ideas I had. Then eventually, when we were playing, this is like 2 years ago, we were playing in it, and one of the players he goes, "Okay, these flesh pits. What happens there?" I'm like, "Oh, that's where they make the orcs." Just offhanded said that. That's where they make the orcs, and then that led to, why is it called the flesh pits? What happens there? And it was like, well, you know, these orcs maybe they were actually just people, you know, that this was done to. And then I was like, well, you wouldn't really have a nation that's all down for that unless the people didn't know. And then one thing led to another, and it's like, oh man, this is all like propaganda, or maybe it's not. Maybe these are people getting turned into orcs. And then
is it an orc-spiracy?
Yeah, an orc-spiracy. And then it was like, well, why didn't I never wrote any mage orcs into the world. Like none of the orcs had magic. And then I was like, well, why? Can they not do magic, or are they not allowed? I'm back.
Okay.
or
can they not do magic, or
can they not do magic, or are they not allowed to do magic? Maybe maybe they have it's forbidden because maybe it brings their humanity back. And all these things led one to another. And next thing you know, we have these factions of mage orcs that are kind of like starting to become human again out in the world, and all these other weird things, all because of just one little hook that was thrown in there.
Yeah, and like for anyone who ends up playing with us, I want you to keep in mind that the games that we play, they're open for everyone. If they're in the events channel, they're open for everyone to come in and play. You can be a level 1 character, play with a bunch of level 5s. The way we do things, you're not going to feel that much weaker or worse off. We have home rules we use in the server for like hit points. So your hit point differential between a level 1 and level 6 character or level 5 character is not going to be that much. So it works really well, and you're not intruding on whatever. Keep in mind, if you want to do something, say something, give your opinion. Like when I came on, I was like, oh whoa, there's a lot going on here. But then very quickly I started getting heavily involved with a lot of stuff, and that's just because I just like to do that. And we like, you have players who are like some of your best friends for a very long time, and they just want to come in and be the fighting guy who hits things on the head with a sword and then go home and be happy. Like,
I've had
like there from the very beginning.
Yeah, I've had those players since I was in high school. But
so yesterday.
Yes, exactly. But they have just as much fun though, because I'm not force feeding stuff into they're there to go kill monsters. Cool, go kill some monsters. That's also, I do a lot of world building in addition to that, because our game is very sandbox styled. So I'm not coming up with what's going to happen. The only thing I've come up with is what has happened, and then based on the years of play, well, what the players have done becomes what has happened.
Yeah.
So because that's really, especially if you're wanting to do a more open game where the players' choices have a lot of impact on the world, the idea that your writing ends when the players begin is quite important. So you might have it in your head that you really want your players to go see this cool wizard that you made in this wizard tower, like the Mage of Erendur we brought up earlier. But you have no guarantee that they're going to be interested in that at all, So
Yeah,
That's also
I think that's the downfall of a lot of people. They get too much into. I- It's gonna. It might sound bad, but like they get too much into themselves and then create a novel for players to play and not a game to play.
yeah,
It's sort of like it's sort of like when you play like a video game, but it's like just hit X, literally
yeah,
just X. Like you don't want your role playing game to be like that unless like maybe you're playing a specific type of game where you all know like yeah just we're trying to figure out this very straightforward story whatever and go down a certain path. But if you're playing D&D or anything that's reminiscent of D&D, that should not be your game unless you are doing an adventure and you're trying to figure out the story within the adventure and you all agree you're playing this adventure this time.
yeah,
You like even then different paths, different branches within adventures you are usually there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you're a referee, DM, whatever you want to call yourself, you're creating your world. You need to leave space and be okay with players not giving a rat's ass about your tower that's
yeah,
right outside the town because they found a nearby lake that has some funny looking fish in it.
yeah.
You'll be surprised. They'll grab on to the dumbest thing, like was a little rumor that some 5-year-old kid in the town said, and then you're gonna have to try and figure that one out. So you have to be very flexible and understanding and on your feet.
Yeah. Well, see, that's why I think it's important when you're making this. If you're not somebody that has like the love of just the writing hobby, so where you're just coming up with lore and you're okay that nobody's gonna see it. Because
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that are like that too. I'm one of them. I write tons of lore that nobody's ever gonna see, but that's part of the fun for me is doing that writing.
Mhm.
But if you're not, that doesn't exclude you from being able to play these games. Because
Yeah.
let's say that there's a good concept in film. I used to work in film a lot and theater, where when you're doing script writing, there's how to say as much information in as few words as possible.
Yes.
Where I could sit there and say about that mage from Arendor all the things about him, but if all I need to get across is that Arendor is this mysterious place and that this mage has been cast out from Arendor, then I can just write that.
Mhm.
Like that's a lot of my pregame notes are, let's say I'm doing a wilderness region, right? And you guys are going to be able to explore this hex, and that's sort of the game you guys are going to play is just exploration.
Mhm.
My notes on the mage tower might be something like mage kicked out of Arendor, looks like this. Here's his level, and here's what his focus was in like 2 sentences or less.
Yeah.
Then if you guys start investigating that tower, I have enough that I can go off of to either come up with something in the moment of like if you guys go straight there, I have just enough that I need to go off of that, or I have just enough I need that I can make a random table for certain things. Like, oh well, here's him. Nah, let me make a quick D10 table of what might be in the tower. Like, oh, are there golems in there? Does he have an elemental summoning chamber or something like that? Maybe I'll put an elemental on the table. And then as the players get more interested is when I go and I develop it more and more and more and more. But only then. That way I don't spend a year writing the region when all players are going to do is go check out the weird fish in the lake that I didn't
Yeah,
have any
like you spend your like all that time figuring out what's in the east, and then your players
Yeah.
go to the west. Like,
Yeah.
but what you said there about like um saying saying as little as possible to get the point across. Like you said, it is just a wizard in a tower, blah blah blah. What's going on here? No one knows.
Yeah.
For me personally, I find that more interesting than a big long list of like, here's the story and what happens because I already know the story. I don't need to figure. I don't need to find out what it is. Or you just
Yeah.
told me the whole story. What's the point? When you tell me a mystery, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
what's this about? Some weird, unusual wizard who something happened to him now. He's banished away and he cannot leave a tower. Like, okay, let me go find that. because maybe he's been cursed and he's stuck there, or maybe he's a real bad guy, and
Yeah.
there's a chance he might break out, and you need to deal with that. So let's deal with it now. You'll figure out the story from there. We'll just read a few more chats, and then we get on to what you said earlier about Sandbox.
Yeah.
And this is also going to relate back to game integration and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we have our buddy Muzz yet again. George Martin is great for things like that with Blackstones and things, or Sandersons with world building and layered histories. Lets the reader wonder beyond what's lets the readers wonder beyond what is actually happening. We have early D&D was meant to be as much about Barsoom as Lord of the Rings. When you look at like old D&D, when that first came out, that was heavily Lord of the Rings coded, heavily, until they got their asses sued and they were like, okay, we change it.
And there's a reason for that, because at the time when they were writing this stuff and they were growing up, the US and UK publications of Lord of the Rings were getting more and more popular in that 60s time period. I talked to David Wesley about who is the grandfather of RPGs. He did Brownstein, but I was talking with him about why this sort of happened, and he was kind of explaining it like it was the perfect storm of Lord of the Rings getting really popular with the books. Another topic was the movies and the matinees at the time. You know, you've got like Hammer horror stuff. You've got the pulp fantasy that they're getting into, mixed with Wesley and them getting into Totten's Strategos. And so you've got these war gamers that are all into these fantasy things. They're like, oh, we need this together. So perfect storm.
You said a history that was written down. I think that was talking about the like mythos stuff, and he did clarify that he was referring to stories and myths in that comment. We have Who Robbed Me. That's my buddy Ian. He's another Irish man now. He's also he creates stuff for like AD&D second edition. He's really cool. I have a bunch of his stuff print on demand, and he'll be on the channel in hopefully a few weeks. We have Technoblade again saying yes sir about playing some games.
Oh yeah.
And then lastly we have Atmos again. I wanted to know more about the Jin's master in Bikini Bottom and the Fell Lord. FML, my schedule though. Fell Lord, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look, you know, I got a lot of lore on that one.
Bikini Bottom, they have the biggest, best bikinis.
The chainmail chicks down in the Dungeon of the Fell Lord. But no, that sort of planting the seed of story more than just telling the story is so much fun to do. Like to add to your point before we move on to the next one, imagine I'm sitting there telling you all about this ancient demon and how powerful he is, and I want to get across to you just how crazily insane he is. And I sit there and I talk to you for 2 hours telling you about all of his lore, and you're like, okay, well, I know everything. That was cool. Whatever. Yeah. Versus, let's say your character comes across what used to be a village and it's just ash, right? And in the center of the village, somebody like in the organs of the dead villagers or whatever is that demon's name written on the ground. I got nothing else for you. What are you going to do?
The name that they propose to the public, not their actual name.
Yeah,
because demons and names have power.
Oh, look at the One Ring, for example. It's never explicitly told like what the actual power that the One Ring has, other than it has power over the other rings. And there's a hint about its power being proportionate to the one carrying it. But that's the allure of the One Ring, is it's everything and nothing at the same time. It tells you just enough for you to go, wow, this thing must be important. I mean, look at how much they're being pulled towards it. It has this great power inside it. Yeah. But I don't need to know everything about the metaphysics of how the One Ring affects your biology when you put it on.
And when we do see how it affects your biology, it's that of Smeagol, when he basically his life force is extended, and he's being mutated essentially, because of it. And that's essentially one of the only times you see it with Bilbo a bit, with his life being extended. But yeah, you don't need to know the breakdown exactly how everything works, because that gets rid of mystery, and you always want an element of mystery, like we talked about. If you tell me everything about that wizard in the wizard's tower, I already know everything. But if you say, well, actually, it was like, well, we spent 10 minutes talking about, read the script. You don't need to. I'm like, okay, I've lost interest. But like you said, if you have the element of environmental storytelling, you come across tidbits like items and stuff like that, or rumors from different people in different towns or areas, and like you said, clearing like towns or villages just cleared out, and they have in the center or some being or message or whatever in there. All these things are mysterious. They add interest, and you're trying to figure it all out. Maybe they're all related, or maybe they're not. But you figure it out, and that is part of role playing. You're role playing an investigation. But it doesn't need to be direct investigation. Like, you're figuring out bits and pieces as you play. Maybe these things come out over a course of a few game sessions or weeks, and then maybe 10 weeks later, we're like, oh, I remember this thing from that game, like X amount of games ago. Run, guys, run!
Well, look at the long arms monster in Barrows and Borderlands. So that's probably my favorite monster I made.
It's really cool. It's really cool. It's so hard.
So that is also the Lovecraft idea of never show it all. You can never describe it all. So I could sit there and say, hey, this giant monster with these long spindly arms and like a human face, and you're like, wow, that cool monster. But then if we're in a game and you get to the edge of your torchlight and I say that there's a smiling face looking directly at you, just at the edge of your torchlight, and it's uncanny. There's something wrong about it. And then all of a sudden, these arms are coming in from the torchlight, and they're unnaturally long, and they're coming up the walls and the ceiling. You're like, the moment you start seeing them like crawling on the ceiling, you're like, how big is this thing? What is beyond my shadow that I can't see? That's the part that makes it interesting. Yeah. If I just showed you the whole monster, it's like Stephen King's It. I think we all can agree that the in the movies, at least, the fight where we see what it really is, like, remember the old It movies, not the newer ones, but and you see, oh, he's just this giant bug alien, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. But all the lead up to it, where this whole time you can't see what he really is, that makes him scarier.
I think that's also an element of horror movies, which the movie can be great the whole way through, and it's always the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's because you're showing the problem being solved. But the problem being the mysterious, you don't know how it operates or what it is. That's what makes it interesting. That what makes it scary. That's what makes it scary, because it's hunting after these children and stuff like that. Like, they're essentially torturing their mind, and they tell their friends, and their friends will hear about it, and then they'll start maybe seeing him, and something like the Freddy Krueger thing. But a bit more like creepy.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff like that. But you were bringing up sandboxes.
Yeah. So like you said, your game world is huge with massive sandbox in it. And one of the ways you sort of deal with maybe players want to go to other areas in the world is literally by having other setting books we can play in. Like if you go towards the northern regions, northern regions of the world, we might end up in God's a bit north setting. Or if we go off to the Far East, we might end up in the Neblet setting. Yeah. And we sort of like base that for playing our games, because these are brilliant books made by awesome people with tons of amazing content. And they work so well with Barrows and Borderlands. You have little to no changes. And the same goes with any classes, things, or anything that's in there. Like, we have a few people, including myself, who have nebulous classes, and we're playing in the B&B. Because like we have Brian with his Chad Samurai Master guy.
Brian.
Oh, dude, we have Gary Lewis. What's up?
Hey,
morning, guys.
What's up, man?
Technoblade so here. Don't show the monster.
Yeah.
We also have Alex Fiesta. Sup, nerds? We're talking. We're talking about everything on the last.
Yeah.
game
It's
integration.
Tolkien mythology, sandbox writing.
Don't show and tell is an extra mantra. I cast magic missile at the smiley face in the darkness. What's funny thing, just quickly before that, the long arms, in like 2 games in like 2 weeks, we had people affected by what happens with that. I'm not gonna say what it is or like how things might work, but it's absolutely hilarious.
I will. I think it's totally worth it. I'll just say what the description of the long arms is once we get through the comments.
Yeah, this is the last one here. Its power is its ability for someone to who commands to convince others that the ring is powerful and you should follow them. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, but it's not like we don't see the mechanics of the magic. Like he's not describing, well, this happens because of the way that the material affects your soul, and then that will cause a metaphysical change.
And it also doesn't say how when Sauron gets the ring, how it will manifest and what powers or abilities will be given back. We don't even know if he will be actually become physical. We can speculate that probably happens.
Yeah.
But we don't really truly know. And that's part of the mystery, and that's part of the fear. Is you don't actually know the end result, but you have the long arms there.
So long arms here. I'm not going to get over its numbers, but the description of the monster is something is there, just out of torchlight. Is it a face? Human, perhaps? Wrong. Spindly arms begin gliding across the floor, wall, and ceiling. They stretch past the 30-foot gap and lunge towards you. The long arms hides itself in dark places and attempts to drag its victims down to the 7th level, where their portal to Hades lies. Whenever a successful attack is made, blah 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 numbers, making saving throws. But if any creature sees a long arm's full body, they must make a death saving throw or go completely insane.
Yeah, and like there's different ways that can go as well, and how it's going to affect your character. And one of the characters, I'm not going to say who or the player even. I think it's only happened twice, at least in the last year, at least if not ever. I'm not sure, but it happened back to back. I think it was literally a week apart on the same exactly 7 days, which was hilarious. And basically, anytime someone mentions that creature, he basically becomes paralyzed.
Yeah, he cataplexes.
D4 rounds or something like that, isn't it? Or until you roll a saving throw.
Cataplexes for D4 turns.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, this could go really bad.
And the best part is that character is a super mega Chad badass.
Yep. It was so funny. He's actually playing the Guardian class, which is a new class in 3 Glue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I think he said needing out, but I think he meant technically meant nerding out. And then Atmos shouted, Gary!
Gary!
But yeah, the sandbox stuff and how we integrate and play with other game settings and stuff like that. We have the classes in there. Like I have a pirate created from Nebulith, and I called him Leon S. Derpity because he's complete another not smart person. I'm not going to say the word. Y'all know what I'm thinking. It's hilarious, and I just play him like complete another dumbass, and it's great.
Nincompoop. That was the word, guys. No,
Nincompoop.
No, that's so. I love playing in other people's settings. It just depends. I mean, obviously, you know me. I have a great love for Hyperborea Nebula. I really like Gods of Forbidden North. But I also like to I also like to see the way that other writers do their thing. And a lot of times that's why I like playing other games, because I like to see how other creators are making their games and why did they make certain decisions for it. I have certain preconceptions on how a game should be played, but
did we lose our boy?
Lose me? Oh,
that's Matt. So
am I back yet?
Yeah, you're back. He's back. Don't worry. Put down the fire extinguishers. As if that would help.
My bad. Hey, listen, the hot topics that are coming out of my mouth right now are just so much it's shutting down the internet. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. The fan is not fanning.
Well, it kind of goes. What I was saying was I like seeing how other creators do mechanics, rules, world building, and that sort of thing. a long time ago, somebody told me something that was probably the most important thing they ever could have told me, which was the moment you think you're the smartest person in the room is usually when you're the dumbest.
Yeah, I know. I agree
So
with that.
yeah, so the moment I get some sort of preconception about how a game should be run, or I think, oh well, that doesn't make any sense because why would they write that sort of rule in there? Well, there might be a really good reason why they did it, and I might
Yeah,
just not know what it is.
and the best way to find out is to actually play the thing and figure it out. Because
Yeah,
you know yourself, you can read something and be like, okay, this makes sense, this works, and then you use it and you're like, oh no, doesn't work.
yeah,
Well, it might work in another game because of some of the other rulings that the rules they have in it. And if you take inspiration from that and mix with something else, in theory, it should work. But in practice, it could go absolutely terrible, or maybe it'll work, and it might be better, or it might be worse, or not as good. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I agree. Reading other people's work, their books, their settings, whatever it is, even how people might do a similar class, for
yeah,
example, and that can be you can explain that in game for oh they just come from a different like tribe of training or a different part of the world where they study and do combat differently, and this is how that works.
yeah.
And when if you're like playing B&B and you want to play, like we said earlier, Hunter want to play a different class from a different game. Uh, Basically, what we do is we sit down, we use this like the baseline statistics from B&B, you roll up as normal. So if you get any pluses or minus to your attributes, you keep that as B&B. And then if you're playing with a class that has extra abilities, we will sit down, like referee will sit down with the player and figure out, okay, you can't use this one because it's too overpowered, or this works pretty straightforwardly. Like with the Nebulate stuff, they do have extra abilities, a
Mhm.
lot of time in the classes, and most of them work straight out of the box. You don't have to really change anything here or there. But again, like we have 10 or 12 referees. Um, they'll sit down if you come on the server and say you want to play with this XYZ class, we'll figure it out. Like
Yeah,
myself or Matt or someone else will basically help you to figure out how to use the class or how to build a class. And
yeah,
it doesn't take long, it'll take 5-10 minutes, whatever. Most of the time anyway.
yeah. Sometimes even less if it's one that we've already done before, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this dude's playing a samurai. Also, here's what we did for him.
Yeah.
So
And like sure, that might mean some people's characters are more powerful than others, but like yeah, it's not too much of a big deal. It's like we have like certain races in the game will be objectively more better.
nope, we lost Fox this time. Now this is the Matt Tapp server or live stream. Let me see. Is he actually out?
Okay, I'm back.
There he is.
My connection went.
I know it's both of us this time.
We're being cursed, but like some races in this in the game might be objectively a bit more better. They might have extra abilities, like dwarfs, for example. They have an innate ability to detect what is it, like hidden structures behind walls and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Which it's going to be better than just a normal human who doesn't. But then how the human in the base game sort of deals with that is they get it was a double reroll on your HP hit points.
yeah.
So
They take the better of the two rolls.
Yeah. That's if we're playing with the baseline B&B. We have home rooms and there's home rules and stuff like that. But yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's also stuff like when you look at why do we roll something as simple as ability scores? Why are we rolling 3d6 and not just a d20 and then it's a 1 through 20 ability score? Well, that's because if you use 3d6, you get a bell curve, and so your average scores are going to be your 9 through 12.
Yeah.
Versus if you're rolling a d20, you have an equal chance of every number on that die being rolled. Or that's also why when it came to spell casting, I went with the chainmail 2d6 rolling because I wanted that critical miscast to happen, but I didn't want it to be a 1 in 12 chance. I wanted it to be a 2.73% chance. So, snake eyes.
And it also scales up if you're, say, a 4th level magic user or cleric, and you've learned a spell that is like level 7.
Right.
You can roll it, and you can attempt to cast it, but it's going to be more difficult to do so because you're trying to do something which is innately more difficult based on your level and understanding, so the risks are higher. It's like if someone's building a house and they're a really good plumber and they start doing brickwork, you might have an idea how it works. But your wall might start going like this over time. You don't realize it, you know? You're not proficient in it yet.
Exactly. And I think, you know, a lot of people would benefit from having that sort of mentality of like, maybe there's a reason for this thing that I don't understand quite yet, and then trying to learn more. Every
personal Ness. It's a go-to character funny name, short and middle name to its letter. Oh my god, he always comes out with random stuff every time.
You know, him and Jazer, like I wouldn't be surprised to find out they were related or something. You know, that just their way of world building, their way of playing is very similar. But that's a good example of, like, for example, Jazer was talking about, was it the TL draw? Because we've been trying to play around with VTTs and stuff, and I thought I had figured it out. And then he's like, "Oh, you could just use this whiteboard thing." And imagine if I had just assumed that he was wrong because I had already figured it out. I would have never tried the whiteboard, and it's so good. TL draw is awesome.
Is amazing. It's one of the greatest things for any online RPG you're playing, because you can use it like a normal VTT. You just drop in your image, you drop in your tokens, and you can move around like a normal VTT virtual simulator. Yeah.
I was reading the comment.
It worked. Yeah, I know. So was I got struck by the gods of grammar. They struck me down in my prime.
Dude, if it wasn't like, whenever I'm writing, I have to reread my stuff like 30 times.
Dude,
I am so bad.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm like part dyslexic too, so I'm trying to like look at it. I'm like, I don't know what I just wrote there.
Yeah, I feel you, bro. So Batmost from Gary. We have Critical Dom. Morning, lads. Atmos is like, not much donating to the Irish man to help with the VAT tax.
Hey, Dom, that was just on there with his comment. Yeah, he's working on a historical book about early D&D, and I'm really excited to read that as well.
Yeah, he did put that in Kickstarter a few months back, wasn't it? Start of the year, I think it was.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. I got to meet him at was that DaveCon we were at, or Arnicon? Which one I think it was DaveCon we just met at. We got to play together too. We played some Barrows and Borderlands inside the Tomb of Horrors, so that was quite a fun.
Oh, nice.
They're quite a lot of fun. And listening to these jokers.
Dude, I want a puppy. Dude, we're getting a puppy soon. So we hope to be soon. You know, it could be a week, it could be 6 months. We want a puppy.
There you go.
And dyslexia is a superpower from Ian.
You know, it kind of, you know, he brings up it's a superpower. There actually is some studies on dyslexia, and people who are dyslexic usually have a tendency to being able to visualize more images and like 3D visualization than other people. Yes, DaveCon, Critical Dom. We had a lot of good talks, and I really enjoyed watching your videos on or the interviews that you took during the convention. So lots of good stuff. I was actually sitting in the living room with my dad, and we were watching some of those. So I make my dad watch all the historical interviews and Secrets of Blackboard stuff. He's like, neat. You know, we were just playing dragons. We didn't know all this shit whenever he was in high school. I was like, yeah. Well, you're going to know it now. But
yeah, he played when he was younger, didn't he?
Yeah, he played a little bit. Some of his friends played a bit more. I had so much fun. Okay, recently we had a little bit of a family regathering. I mean, it was for a funeral, but we were all hanging out afterwards at the having dinner. And they didn't really know what I was doing with my work. And I was talking about old school D&D, and they watching these like 50-year-olds nerd out over me talking about the game was awesome. So,
and that was again with TL Draw. TL Draw is awesome with PNG transparency. It can do everything. It's absolutely brilliant.
We did a 10,000 man chainmail battle using TL Draw.
I was going to bring that up in a little while.
Beautiful.
But yeah, that game was insane. It went on for like 4.5 hours. It was brilliant. If like myself, I love wargaming, you love wargaming. We had a few people also love wargaming. You have one or two didn't, which is fine.
He's back.
That happens. If you wasn't sure it was a war game, but yeah, we played war game stuff.
Hey, here's my call to action. That vampire we took down. All right. So what happened was, I think it's totally worth bringing up. So in our campaign, it's all like mass people. It's like an MMO, TTRPG. But we had somebody's character. I don't know. Some a-hole's character was helping a vampire for some reason. Well, I don't know who would do something like that. I swear it was not me. Yeah, it totally wasn't me, but I wound up giving maybe a very powerful magic item to a vampire because I wanted money. And that vampire wound up summoning some dark entity from beyond. Anyway, that's beside the point. The main thing is we had to band together to fight this vampire and his army, and we got like 30 player characters. I think we had like 13 players at the table, though, and some people just sent their characters to go assist. And we defeated this guy. It was, like you said, a 4-hour battle. It was long, hard fought. Well, turns out that vampire survived. So, and I just received a letter. My character, Klaus Black, in Castellet Black, just received a letter about this. So he may or may not be planning an attack on my keep. So if anybody out there wants to come help me fend off the vampire attack that I totally didn't provoke, I would definitely take your help.
My guild is definitely on the way, and we totally don't have an awesome dragon to help.
We do have a dragon. We have dragon.
More than one dragon. We have
we do.
3, I think.
Hey, the polymorph spell. It's beautiful. But
yeah, I think my dragon got turned. Well, I can't remember. Is it a black dragon or a rainbow dragon? One of my characters. You were like, how can you not know this? I have, I think it's 18 characters in the game right now. Yep. Because I play very often and they get time locked, and I want to play different classes and go different locations in the world. Because we'll get back on topic again in a second. But like we done like an adventure there, like I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we ended up being somewhere else in the world. If we were to travel there, it would have been like taking 2 months or a month and a half in game to get there. And obviously we do 1-to-1 time, so create a character just for that. And say we got there within the time span and stuff like that. But Gary Lewis was saying he has a Chihuahua pug. Oh my god. That's a mix right there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Puppies are rad. Absolutely, Gary. Puppies are the best.
Especially he's got like a pet orc or warg or something. Yeah. Anyway.
Daddy's gonna learn. He's gonna learn some history today. And 50 is crazy. Yeah, like I think it was 45 or 50,000 different characters on.
I think that comment might have to do with me commenting on listening to a bunch of 50-year-olds talk about the game.
We did actually. I was talking to Brian. It was closer to 45,000, not the 20 something we thought. It was. Yeah. It was 20 something aside. I think we had 22 and he had 25, 26 on his side. So it was nearly 50,000.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know that you and Brian are going to have a sit down at some stage and they're going to talk all about how that went down. So we have to save it for that.
We'll probably come on here and talk about it because, we'll see. But I do know that battle will be coming up soon in game. And that's another beauty of having this sort of sandbox stuff, because if we had planned that, you could have never come up with this stuff.
No.
It just had to happen the way it fell. But, and also, Gary, if you were talking about me joking about the age is there, I'm 26, just to remind you. So to me, that is double my age.
Which, I'm so annoyed at Brian now. When I saw it, I was like, you beep, beep, beep. That's all you're going to know.
Dude,
that's all you're going to hear.
And the thing is, I know how anal Brian is about rolling stuff. So we know that was a roll.
Oh, yeah. Like when it comes to like the games and the server and stuff like that, we do dice at home.
Mm-hmm.
And because we know each other, we trust each other, and we have all had horrible things happen to our characters.
Yeah.
Like we were playing like a game of chance, me and you. Well, we had a whole party thing going on, and we basically ended up playing a game of chance. My character on, like against a demon
One of
prince essentially, and
one of the Ned God
horrible things happened,
sisters.
but really good things happened as well. Yeah, let's just say I've earned the titles of Defeater of Death, and then the next game I played after that was Brian's game, where I
Yeah.
banished Moloch
You did banish Moloch from
that dimension. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very. I knew what I was doing. I was very clear on the phrasing because I didn't want to mess everything up because I know how important it is, and also it's cool just to have the title. I have two
It is
really
pretty cool.
Defeater
Slayer.
of Death and
Yeah.
Slayer of Death and Banisher of Moloch.
Yeah, man. Dude,
he's level 6 character, by the way. It's just pure luck and chance.
Yeah. Dude, we use titles a lot in our games because they're fun. It's fun to get titles for your character.
Yeah, like if you do something that's really awesome, like, oh, here's a cool title, you know.
Yeah,
it's bragging rights as well, you know.
We also had I really love it when players name magic items. Mm-hmm. You know, I remember when we were at one battle, we were fighting some orcs or whatever, and I think it was was it Darren's character died in the battle? Maybe it wasn't Darren. Maybe it was Wolfgar. I can't remember exactly whose character died, but we picked up his sword, and the character's name was Dagvir, and we were like, "This is the sword of Dagvir now," or whatever, you know, like, because we picked up the dead character's sword, and then now it's become sort of like a staple in game amongst the Blackhound mercenary band.
Gary said it'll feel like a few minutes one day.
Maybe.
Like a week goes by and you're like, I thought it was an hour.
That's just me already, you know, with all my writing.
I feel old. You're not old, says the older guy.
The future is now, old man.
Oh, dude, that was hilarious. When Jason Bay posted the thing, I posted a meme of Dewey from Malcolm Middle saying, "The future is now, old man," because he was playing with Transformers. And he couldn't figure it out for ages, he was saying. And I was like, oh, come on.
Speaking of Transformers, dude, I recently had an awesome experience. So I was doing some world building with my girlfriend's kids, and they're like 4 and 5. And so we did the whole like rice map thing on a big sheet of that craft paper. And they went and they were like, I was like, well, what do you guys want in the world? And the girl's like, I want fairies and princesses and dragons and blah, blah, blah. And then the boy's like, I want cars. I want trains. I want firefighter. I'm like, okay. And he's like, the cars can talk. And I'm like, so we've got Transformers then. He's like, yeah. And then we watch Transformers More Than Meets the Eye, you know. Yeah. But this world that they're making on this table, it just reminds me of like Final Fantasy 15 with Transformers in it, and I'm all in.
Yeah, you put it on X there during was it last week or week before? But the sort of map that you guys drew up together, which first of all, it looked like a proper map. Like you could easily turn that into an in-game world, like or in-world thing for sure. Midlife crisis for American. And Gary was like, "You guys should stream every morning like this. Very entertaining with my coffee."
Hey, I'd be down. I know, like this sort of morning time seems to be really good for conversation. So
we were talking about possibly doing one of these every now and then. We have Mike from Aird, or also known as Aird IDM. How you doing, buddy? Thank you for coming. But yeah. We did say we talked about integration and other stuff like that. We also did say general chat. So we are having a general chat, guys. But we'll try and get back a little bit to like settings and more integration with class and stuff like that. But like we both said, like Nebulith and Gods with the North, these are places we can visit in your world.
Yeah.
Literally on the map to your north and then to your east. These are the books we have there, which is great. And they work straight out of the box with little to no changes required, or out of the book, I should say. But it works so well, and I think both of them are some of the best like setting books you can get.
Yeah, Nebula
It's
is
full of everything, and the
Nebula.
style of boat is awesome. They're very unique, very different. Um,
Yeah,
but like especially Nebulith, the style of it is so badass. Like
it's so
the
good,
way
dude.
things like hand drawn watercolor in like the Japanese traditional style for the creatures and stuff like that is so cool. So
It
cool.
I think it adds to it too because Alex Hobson, he is living over there, so he's got
Yeah,
and he grew up around all that.
yeah.
We had a whole talk about uh, how awesome that sort of Oriental adventures that he put in there was. Him
Mhm.
and Zach, like, dude, that book is awesome. It's probably my favorite Oriental adventures style game. So, woogity.
Whiskey. Wait, wait. Woo giggity shush erudite. Shh, erudite.
Woogity, dude.
God bless you.
um,
Mike is so pleasant and nice. People could be cursing and screaming. He'd be like a proper upright gentleman. Uh,
well, integration wise, though,
yeah,
it fits so well, and that falls into the same category of close enough that you don't have to do much. Like you're saying, there's not much
yeah, yeah.
changes mechanically you have to do because that runs off of at its core. It's Lamentations, the Flame Princess, which is a very BX coded
Mhm.
game. Um, we've got a lot of people that come in and they want to play Shadow Dark content, which is also quite easily integrated. I picked up last year the Zothique Kickstarter,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna do the Shadow Dark versions of it, but we'll be playing some in Zothique. But I'm probably gonna use Barrows and Borderlands.
That's the
When
Goodman
we
Games
play it.
one, isn't it?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I
I think
think
it
so.
was.
But that whole idea of these things are close enough, they're very integratable. Granted, when we move stuff in from like Shadow Dark, we use more of the B&B saving throws and stuff. But
Mhm.
like you could just run, like, let's say you wanted to run a fighter from Shadow Dark in B&B. Well, I'd use the B&B fighting man for the XP
Mhm.
charts and the saving throws, and then you would just do the same like roll when it comes to your level up. And instead of getting a bonus to hit, you could just do it as when you roll that's your Thaco going down. You know,
Yeah, yeah. No,
um,
it works. It works well, but like we said, it might make some people's characters a little more powerful in some ways. But we can explain that by in world they're from a another portal, another reality
yeah,
came from another portal, or from another part of the world where their training is different and how they do combat is different. So you can flavor it very easily, and
yeah,
also the idea of that it kind of builds like the idea of different cultures in the world having different ways of doing things.
yeah,
So as well as not only being from a different universe or realm or whatever. So that works really well, and it plays into the game. And you can do this with any fantasy game as well. It requires very little work, and even with like, for say, example, Shadow Dark creatures or monsters, whatever. Well, people will look at them and they see a +2, +1, -2, -1, and they're like, "What's this mean?" It's just open up your Shadow Dark book, and it gives you the statistics for your pluses and minus based on the number rolled. So then you can figure out, oh, like I think a 14 in Shadow Dark is like a plus is a +2 or something like that. I think, or +1,
yeah,
whatever it is. But yeah, so they are a little more powerful to get. I think in Shadow Dark goes up to +4, but we do up to +3 overall. So it's
yeah.
not it's not a major difference, and it works. It's pretty straightforward. And Mike is a good guy. He's one of the best. He's
Yes.
hat and a monocle. Yes, he's a gentleman.
Well, like
Rocket power.
yeah, there's rocket power reference. There's another area of the world where I have like if we go south of the Borderlands, I want to use RuneQuest Classic to play over there because I also like
Mhm.
RuneQuest and BRP systems as well. Um, that right there is another one that's easily convertible.
Mhm.
Oh, D100 or a D20. Well, D20 is just every 5%. converting that over to a D100.
Yeah.
Very easy to do. But even games where, because we have one area where we were going to use some mothership stuff, because y'all were getting sent to like this like horror space area. I was like, oh, well, let's use mothership for that. And we could go in. This goes into otherworld games.
Yeah.
So we have three ways that we kind of do it. Where if the game is close enough, then we do a direct transfer over there. You don't have to change anything. We're actually going to make the game more like your character in that, like if we're using Barrows of Borderlands as the standard, we just continue using it as the standard. Then there's like an indirect where it's close enough, but we might convert a couple numbers over. So if you guys were going to like Hyperborea, maybe you got a little bit more hit points, and maybe the fighter gets some more abilities when you go, like John Carter. But then there is a full-on otherworld, or like the soul transfer to another world, and that's just an excuse for us to go, okay, guys, we've got an elf, a dwarf, and a human in the party, but we want to play some Call of Cthulhu, but we kind of want to connect it back to the world. You're just going to wake up in new bodies, and you're going to be humans over there.
Yeah.
And when you
That's
guys
kind
get back,
of like the Princess of Mars idea as well.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why you should read those books, so you get an idea of the concept of how it would work in reality. And to be honest, like the Disney movie of John Carter is it's fairly accurate to a good trope.
It's not bad.
Book. Yeah,
it's not bad.
As a movie adaptation, it's probably as best as you're going to do with any real book, because you could easily split that into two movies and have all the characters and stuff in there. Because he goes off and does some other stuff in the book, like with the recycling and water stuff, so which they don't touch on at all, and some extra characters that show up. But yeah, it's still really good.
Yeah, it's a pretty good adaptation.
The core, the bones of it is there, which is the important part. But you should still read the books.
They're really
all
cool.
this stuff helps you understand like what you're going with and the feel and the vibe, which is very important. Vibes are so important with games. Like we all know how many D20 OSR type games that are thousands.
Yeah, and so many.
There's some really good ones out there. They've like really good settings, stuff or whatever, and they just don't get enough face time with the public. But there's a lot of stuff which is super generic to the point of where there's nothing drawing me in, or there's nothing of interest, or there's no new anything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, what's the point in having that when I could just pick up the popular thing, which is right here, is literally almost exactly the same. Like with Barrows and Borderlands, what makes that different is you're mixing in a lot of sci-fi stuff, which a lot of modern games do not do at all.
Yeah,
you have radiation, you have mutations, you have you're bringing back like black powder stuff as well, which not a lot of games do have, and when they do have, it's super ungodly rare.
Yeah.
Like, we have super powerful items and stuff that show up in game, and usually when you get that, it's because you've done something really badass, or in the dungeon, and we're accidentally go to level 2, and all of a sudden you found this artifact, and you're like, oh, I didn't think someone was going to get and find this for like another few months. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Like, you have a brand new character who's maybe just turned level 2, and he has this badass like totally not lightsaber.
Totally not a lightsaber. Non-copyrightable lightsaber.
Gotta go get those hot dogs and have a good one. So, buddy,
yes,
see you later. And that's Game Sim with Ian. I was saying, be a good boy to him as well. Walking dogs before he can get heat stroke. And dude, I'm indoors and I feel like having a heat stroke. I was out earlier, and I swear to God, went to the shop around the corner. I came back. I was dripping in sweat.
Did you watch my video I sent you? You'll see it later. Yeah, it's in defense of Fahrenheit. Just for you.
Oh, I was watching. I replied as like Cope 0 is 0. Cope 0 is 0. You didn't see my reply.
Oh man.
But yeah, like what we're talking about here is we're trying to get people to see past like, oh, I'm playing this game, which means I can only use stuff made for this because it says so on the box and the label. It's like, no, almost
Mm,
anything can be used. And that feeds into your whole idea of game of games. Like when you do
yeah,
in person stuff, you don't only have all the stuff we're talking about, but you have board game stuff you play, like the dungeon board game you talk about quite often.
yeah,
So, and anything to get from that, they extract and have it in the actual game. That could be gold items, whatever case might be. And again, I think the reason that you came up with this, if I'm not wrong, is so you can just play other games and then you just happen to get your friends involved. And
yeah,
it sort of developed into what it's become today. Is like, oh, I'll just create like a little book list for my friends so they can sort of know the game we're sort of playing. And now it's like making the rounds around the internet, and people all over the world now have Barrows and Borderlands. We have people all over the world playing on your server, and it's we're going global.
well,
But
and
it's
that's
amazing.
exactly how it started with our group. I mean, it was just for them, and they were like, "Oh, you should publish this. This is pretty cool." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." But it has sort of grown legs beyond what I thought because we've got y'all on the server adding things to it,
Mhm.
um, and and then we had the Kickstarter with Portal to Adventure, where it was
Mhm.
3 games by 3 publishers, and that whole thing, like there was a whole talk in there about the compatibility between the 3 games and how you could mix things together. Which, by the way, if anybody missed on that Kickstarter, we are down to like the last leftover boxes. So on the website, I've got the Portal to Adventure boxes, and then I've got 3 left
Mhm.
that have the acrylic case with it too, and those are up on the
Oh, the UV
website.
case. Yeah.
Yeah, the UV case. That that really is kind of like all that's left. I had to go with sort of the actual price of the books in the box set and add it
Yeah.
up because I kind of don't want to get rid of them because I only got those left.
Yeah.
Um,
It was like 65% discount on the Kickstarter, essentially, something like that.
Pretty much, like it was pretty crazy. And then I had a few of them left that I put at a fairly reasonable, still discounted price on the site, and those are all gone now.
Hmm.
So the only ones I have left are the 3 in the acrylic case, and then I think I've got two left now outside the acrylic case. So if y'all want that, hop on it now because otherwise I'm going to save them and take them to conventions and sell them there,
Yeah.
and then that'll be it. So,
Um,
which I
like,
don't even know if those will make it to the convention because
yeah.
I thought I'm gonna be honest, I thought I was gonna be selling those things for the next few years because I had like I think I had like 20 or 30 left over from the
Mhm.
Kickstarter. Um, I know the other guys already sold out of all theirs, so now it's just a couple left. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
But if you want to find
the
that
next
or
year.
anything else belong to Matt, obviously in the description for both of our streams, because we're dual streaming.
Dual streaming now.
I have everything for both of our stuff is down below, so you can go on his webpage and you can find it, and you can get that, or you can go and get his box sets, or the single volume book as well. All the links are down in the description, so you can find everything. Go on Barrows and Borderlands.com. Oxygen is required. I forgot about that. Very bright. See, my brain got cooked today. Uh, but yeah, is there anything else you want to add or talk about before we
Uh,
finish? Because
I
this actually
guess
went on longer than I thought it was gonna. I'm not gonna
it
lie.
did go on a little while. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
I
pretty 2 hours.
guess
It's pretty good. Yeah.
I think we'll definitely have to do this again. I recommend, like we were talking about earlier with myths and books and stories, y'all
Mhm.
should definitely go read some of the Appendix N stories. And if you guys wanted to know more about like the effects of mythology, because I've been trying to get more people into myths,
Yes.
especially after seeing more about like the inspirations for Lord of the Rings in like Beowulf and other Anglo-Saxon mythology. Uh, y'all should go check those out. Give yourself some more work to go off of when you're running your games. But
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, the boxes on the website. I've got more regular Barrows and Borderlands boxes. Boogaloo and Toogaloo are live on the website. And I don't have a release schedule for 3 Glue, but I'm hoping to have it ready before Arnicon
Okay.
this October. Um, oh, And of course, we have the hardback versions, the black label
Yes.
editions. This is the same as what's in the box
Single
set.
volume. Single
Yeah,
volume.
single volume. Those are available on the website. You can also find them on Lulu and Drive-Thru. So otherwise,
I think they came out great because Lulu was great. Everything.
they do pretty good.
Yeah, they're very good.
I was talking with some other creators recently,
Mhm.
and I might be moving some things around with the box sets and how I do them soon.
Mhm.
So, depending on how I go with that, there might not be a continuation of this, the same way that they are now in the future. So if y'all want that sort of style and the handmade box sets, or the handmade booklet sets, I don't know how much longer those will go for, but we will see. Otherwise,
Gary,
that's about all I got.
Gary, I have 2 box sets. I'm giving one away though.
There you go. Oh, yeah, because your other
Great
one
gift to
finally
give to
arrived,
someone.
didn't it? Yeah.
Lulu the pervert. What?
Oh, gosh.
Lulu the pervert. But yeah, like, so very shortly on my end of stuff, we're doing live gameplay. We're going to be having dropship being played first. I have a few creators lined up, and Matt will be one of them at some stage. We're just got to figure out dates and stuff like that. I'll probably know in the next day or so when we will be starting. I think with dropship, we're looking at the 8th of July. I'm not sure about the time yet. We'll figure it out. And then I'll have one every other week. I might have one a bit sooner, like for each week, or I don't know. It sort of depends how everything goes, really, But yeah, all the links for both of our stuff is down below. Join both of our Discords. You can play B&B with us and Matt's server. On my own, if you want to join on the live gameplay, there's a link for my Discord as well, and you can join. And that's how we're going to operate things: is having people from there join the games, so it gets people and viewers more involved. And late tonight or early in the morning my time, I might do another stream. I have a Castle Crusades game tonight with my buddy DM Center. So that will be live played on his Twitch channel. You can check that out. I'll put some stuff out later. I don't know if I'll be able to go to that. It's a 50-50. We've been doing it the last few weeks for the month of Siege, Castle Crusades stuff. It's been awesome. But if I do go to that, right after that, I'm going to do a live stream. We're going to do some Conflict 47 modeling because I just after printing off some Italian stuff. So I'm going to turn my access in Conflict 47 Italian access, which is going to be cool. I actually don't even know if it's going to fit. We're going to figure it out when it goes live. But yeah, that'll be me. So if I go to the game, it'll go straight after that. But there's a chance I won't be around because after this, I'm heading off for a bit. And I don't know when I'll be home. So I might miss the CC game. But usually I'll sleep for like an hour or two before that because it's 2 a.m. my time it starts at. Right. But then I'm in work on Friday, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm blabbing on too much. This has been great, man. And Gary says thanks again.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
That's Gary. And yeah, we might do something again soon. Like, it was pretty fun. We talked about it before, so we'll see what happens. So Gary, you might get your morning coffee edition of what is it, Barrows and Foxes?
Fox in the Borderland.
But yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and people give super chats and all that stuff. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. This is great. We're doing more live streams, more everything, more solo games, more everything. Yeah, remember, check out barrowsandborderlands.com and come play with us, guys. So I'll see you again. Thank you and goodbye.